do a bit of a gear change now and talk about famous brands. So now we're bringing things home. So we've gone from two companies with market capitalizations of close to $100 billion. And we're diving down now to a company that's considerably smaller, South Africa's largest. So we're talking about tens of billions of rands. But before we talk about that market cap, remember here we're talking about a holding entity which owns Steers and Wimpy. So it's got two of the biggest fast food brands, hamburger brands, roadside store brands in the country. Debonairs, which may or may not be the largest pizza seller, but it's got to be fairly close and up there. And then they've spread their wings in recent times with brands like Mugg Bean, Tashas, and a whole bunch of others, Vovatello, and so on and so forth. And they bought a thing called Mr Bigg's, which is a fast food company up in Nigeria. Interesting. There you go. Market cap, 12.9 billion rand. Still fairly tightly held by the Debonairs family and a bunch of other institutions, but getting there. Price to earnings ratio fairly elevated, 27.78. Dividend yield, though, fairly generous, 2.73%. Good story, good margins, lots of rollouts, building in that supply chain stuff in the background. What not to like?
Yeah, you're right. And you were talking earlier about the sources of income. I mean, these guys get the income from two sources, effectively. From the franchise fee, which is very stable annuity income, and then again from the production side, the manufacturing side. And it's interesting, when they buy certain competitors out, very shortly thereafter, they tend to incorporate them into their manufacturing side as well, where they make also nice margins. So they're getting it on both sides.
So that's things like making cheese, making bread rolls, bacon
making
products,
the burgers,
and so
all
on.
that type of thing.
So the deal with the franchisees is that they've got to use that stuff, but then they get incorporated into the delivery chain and everybody's happy.
Exactly. So it's a win-win situation here for all concerned.
Yeah. The Nigerian expansion, I mean, that's a massive consumer economy. I don't know too much about Mr Bigg's. It's kind of a combination of pies and other things.
Yeah.
Like everyone else, paying a bit of school fees up there.
They are indeed. Mr Bigg's is owned by a company called UAC, and Tiger Brands is also associated with them on the food manufacturing side. Been in Nigeria for a long, long time. I think Famous Brands have got 49% of this. So they've partnered with a very, very strong local player there. And as you rightly say, Paul, Nigeria is a very difficult place in which to do business. Spur's been up there for a while. So it takes a while as you pay the school fees, but then, you're talking about a population of, 180 million people. According to the Population Reference Bureau, that's going to increase in size over the next 40-odd years, next 30 years, should I say, to 440 million.
It's hard to actually comprehend those numbers.
It's incredible. And you're talking about a country the size of Texas, basically. So you've got phenomenal growth opportunities.
So that would be just a no-brainer. You've just got to go in there. You've got to put your short-term objectives to one side. You've got to look at your supply chain solutions, local sourcing, because once that wave of customers come, it's going to be making money like gangbusters.
Right. Tough in the first instance, but pretty much guaranteed in the longer term. But locally, still absolutely pumping and still full of great new ideas. I mean, companies like Tashas, for example, which has got a 50% stake, I think it's surpassed even their expectations. So you've got the guerrilla brands, as they call them, Steers, Debonairs, Fishaways, these ones. But then they're putting on these little things which are growing bigger and bigger, Mugg Bean, for example. So yeah, it's a phenomenal exercise, and they've done exceptionally well.
And centrally, management team, Kevin Hedderwick, Darren Hilly, I mean, these guys are very skilled and experienced operators.
Absolutely.
We can just continue to expect more good things from them.
Darren Hilly used to run Wimpy, and he's now gradually moving into Kevin's spot, I think. And it's a lovely, seamless transition, and Darren's got already a lot of experience, so it's going to be fantastic when that happens.
Because these guys have got teams that open, multiple stores every week, because that's how they roll, and they're refurbishing and revamping some of them. I think it's possible that as they get to a certain scale, they do get a little bit more corporate and a little bit less flexible, but the machine can really roll out. And then what your point earlier was is that sub-Saharan Africa generally is the total area of their likely expansion.
Yes. Although they're in the UK as well, they took the rump of Wimpy there, and that's turned into profitability. They've also got Steers and Debonairs in there, mainly appealing to expatriates and Africans, but that started to move nicely as well. So, they do have global ambitions.
Okay, good. So fairly expensive. It's done fine. I mean, we own these in our portfolio, and in recent weeks I was pleasantly surprised to see them perking up and putting their noses up closer to the 130 mark. So again, bit of buying support coming in. Over the years, the Debonairs founding family that had the Steers business from Emalahleni have been selling out no real worries there. It seems a popular emerging market stock pick for global financial institutions.
You have this delicious problem, no pun intended, in the sense that it's never going to be cheap, in my opinion. So you look at it, you think, yes, it is expensive, but you know what? This is quality, and it's going to keep on growing.
Yeah. I always say to people, don't worry so much about the current market PE ratio as an indication of expensive or not. Look for companies that have the ability to deliver explosive growth, and then worry about what the share price does later. And this certainly seems to be one of those. Okay, good. So we're hot on that one too.